Hi, this is Jonathan Miller of Longevity Income Solutions, and I'm here to have an informal discussion with John Freitag of All American Hospice. This is a little bit of a role reversal for you, John. You're usually the one doing the recording and asking the questions.
Right.
But I thought we'd take a different approach to today. Instead of you asking the questions, just have an informal discussion. And we've had some conversations off camera that we've said, how do we move forward? Like what's the landscape going to look like, in another month, 3 months from now, what have you. And the word is, I've been using the word reset, how to hit the reset button. So I thought we should just have that discussion and talk a little bit about how when COVID happened, you kind of grabbed by the bull by the horns, and you didn't let everybody just crawl into a hole and feel sorry for themselves.
Yep.
You started this really unique approach of communication.
Thank you.
And Zoom was your method of communication with existing network partners. And I think one of the things that you've done, and I don't know if this was expected on your part, but I think you've reached a whole nother segment of the senior healthcare industry that now know who you are, and have also met other people. So I think you need to take a little bit of credit for some introductions that probably weren't there before.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit, tell me a little bit. I mean, I never really even asked you, what was your experience with Zoom or any of these other video conferencing platforms?
Pretty much zero. So, I had never even heard of Zoom until all this stuff started going on. I had put together the healthcare Facebook group back in like December, I think it was. Just the idea was to try to network people together, try to connect them together. I go to so many different facilities. I'm a hospice rep, hospice liaison. So I go to different nursing homes, and I would always see so many cool different events going on, so many different things that if just more people knew about it, there would be better involvement. Nursing homes, assisted livings, they all work together. They refer to each other. So I thought if I could put together a resource forum, it would be a great place for them to connect. So it came together a little bit in December. So people started inviting each other. There was probably from December to March, about 100 people on there. Then March 13th, I think, was my last day in the field. And that's when I think the state turned to the stay-at-home orders. So everyone was pushed online if they wanted to continue to work. We're at almost 400 people now. It's May 27th. Yeah, so a growth of 300 people getting on there, trying to connect, it became more than just connection, trying to share what's going on. What are we seeing? A lot of people stepped up. So everyone's getting on there, sharing their experiences with facilities. We've had more facilities come on, share what they're dealing with, trying to come up with some solutions, so
I think
it grew more than I expected.
Well, it's been a success, and I think you've now added the title of producer to your title of Director of Business Development at All American Hospice. I mean, it was definitely unique. So I definitely applaud, because I think a lot of people were trying to figure out exactly, what am I doing tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing, and how do I want to work with people the next day? So
a bunch of people stepped up, and now it feels like there's something going on almost every day virtually.
Yep.
So
I'll talk a little bit about it, because one of the things I want to talk about is about content and some things that we've talked about in the past. But there's this word that seems to be overused these days, the word pivot, and everybody seems like, oh, we have to pivot. And you speak to a lot of people. Do you really? I don't know if they really understand what that word means and how they're really planning on moving forward to create different business opportunities in today's environment. Do you see that, or do you feel the same way, or have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And I mean, you do have to pivot. It's overused, but I mean, so my typical day-to-day before all this was, going to nursing home, assisted living, hospitals, going in and out, stopping in, hey, how are you? Trying to bring some value. But then when the doors shut, it's like, what are you going to do? So had to pivot, right? So I had to figure out a new way to continue to see people. I leaned on my friends because, I've been in healthcare for a long time, 4 years in hospice. And so I met a lot of people, like people that I've been interviewing, people that I knew before this.
Okay.
So people you have good relationships on, lean on them. You're helping them out, they're helping you out, and you're meeting people that they knew, they're meeting people that you knew, and you're just growing your relationships, you know? So I think you do have to pivot, but people need to do it with some sort of direction, right?
Yep. And I think that, you know, building out these new platforms of communication, you know, are going to take a little time. I think that the content is going to have to be different than just words. I think it's going to have to be really visual. You know, that's why I think what's going to happen is we're going to see a different type of relationship within network partners. I mean, we're such social animals. We were so used to going to these events and sitting down, talking to people and handing out cards or doing this or saying, hey, good to see you. And sometimes that was the piece that would say, oh, I need to send you a referral, or I got somebody for you, or stuff like that. And I think the concept of referral, we were so used to doing it as a handoff. And I think it's going to change. I think what's going to happen is I think network partners are going to learn to work together a little bit differently and create content together.
Right.
So we figure out how to be a value-added service really to each other. I mean, I think these platforms with Zoom and using webinars and all these other things are really a big help. But when working with network partners, I'm sure, you know, look, you live on referrals and our business lives on referrals.
Right.
What do you feel?
Yeah. I mean, referring partners are huge. You got to make sure you're having good relationships, and it's got to be a two-way street, you know?
Yeah.
If you're just take, you know, eventually people are going to be tired of giving, you know? So you got to give back more than you're taking. And then I think the relationships and the referrals just come from that. You know, if you help people out without the expectation of getting the referral, they're going to come naturally.
Yeah, you know, we are, you know, we're in this world where when I say building a content from a visual standpoint, if there's synergy within certain network partners that work well with one another, you know, because we're all we're moving down that same path together.
And you find people you click with.
Yeah. But how do you now build some relationships? Like, we don't have a direct relationship with you through hospice, but how do we build content so that we're helping each other? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I think that's the challenge, and I welcome that challenge. Like,
and I think every situation is going to be unique, and you're not going to click with everyone, just like you're not friends with everyone you meet. I mean,
true.
Could be good acquaintances, but you're not going to click with everyone. So I think you just got to try to meet as many people as you can and see what works and see how you can help each other. I mean, you might not recognize the ability to work together now, but I mean, maybe a few months or a year or whatever down the line, you could run into each other and have the ability to work together.
Yeah, I think we both agree that these face-to-face network meetings probably aren't going to happen for a long time. Yeah. So this is you know, where we need to be able to communicate with one another. And I think this is the platform. I think something like this, even developing maybe webinars together.
Yeah, webinars. I mean, I was speaking to people even maybe when we get back to some semblance of normal. You know, I've been involved in like the Dementia Friendly Newtown. So it's a once a month meeting. Sometimes it's impossible to get to the meeting because you're, you know, down in the city in Philadelphia, and you got to get all the way back up to, you know, Langhorne, Newtown area. And, you know, you just can't do it. So if we could incorporate this into like some meetings like that or other meetings, if you can get there in person, cool. If you can't, at least you can still join in. You can still interact while you're sitting in the car, sitting in traffic, you know? So I think, I think this has really pushed a lot of innovation. I think we'll come out stronger and better for it.
I agree with you. I think that if first is accepting it, right? That's the first step, right?
Yep.
Accepting the fact that, guess what? This is it. And if you can do it where it's not so formalized, and you can do it where you have people say, look, if you want to come in, come in. If you want to come out, come out. And if we need to separate into rooms, we'll separate into rooms. Not make it one of, like, now, when Michael, you know, and before COVID, Michael and I were like, okay, we have this on Tuesday, this Wednesday, this Thursday, and you literally could be somewhere for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day. So this will, I think, without taking it as a negative, will make people more productive, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And I mean, sure, there's sometimes that are just like filler meetings and things like that. But I mean, for the most part, I think they've been pretty valuable. You know, just the relationship building, like you said, just building the relationships. And what I try to do with like content production, I guess would be, is just throw everything out there. Just try something. I mean, half the stuff I try doesn't stick, but
Well,
put it out there and see what works.
exactly right. Exactly right. If you can address one concern or one issue indirectly or even directly, and that somebody gets something out of it, then there's value.
Right.
Right. It's not for everybody. And I think that's what everybody has to understand. This isn't about, like, everybody talks about how many likes and how many friends and how many, like, that's not what this is about. This is about bringing information and educating and bringing awareness. And we talked about that before off camera on times, that that's such a very important part of what we do. Is it's, yes, we're all in it to make a buck, and that's important. But if we can provide the awareness and the education that's needed in this space and to move forward, I think that has just as much value.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I said, education, I think, is the biggest thing. No one wants to hear a commercial. You don't do that in real life. Like, I mean, this is real life, but you don't walk into someone's office and just like spout out a commercial. You want to like develop a real relationship with them. You want to bring something of value to the table, and then introduce your product or your service or whatever, and hopefully you provide enough value that they'll buy from you. But it's not.
I think we're on the same. I think we're on the same page, and we've definitely. And look, I didn't know you. You didn't know me before COVID, and I think that's what's unique about this is the fact that there are individuals out there that probably we still haven't met, right, that share a lot of that same passion, share a lot of the same need to educate and bring this awareness to the public. And so I welcome, after things calm down, even when things calm down a little bit, that we continue these discussions. But I wanted to, so tell me a little bit about what's the current status right now in hospice. What's going on with All American Hospice at this time? What can you do that we can help you and your competitors? Is there something that's happening that you need some assistance with?
Yeah, and I think this is actually an ongoing issue. It's something that I'm really trying to work on. It's just spreading the awareness of what hospice is and how people can benefit from it. What I've really noticed during COVID-19 is that there's such a delay in people signing on to hospice. Like maybe just because it's not the forefront of their mind, it's not top of mind. Facilities are maybe dealing with everything else, and I don't know how they're taking care of everything. My hat's off to them. They're doing a great job. But hospice is in the back of their mind. So as a patient declines, they get really bad. Instead of sending them out to the hospital, they're calling hospice, but they probably could have called them a few weeks ago. Right. So just talking to families, letting them know what hospice is, that, end of life, we can keep someone comfortable so they're not going back and forth to the hospital. Letting doctors know. Sometimes doctors don't even understand the benefit. Just awareness in general, I think, helps.
So it's not only from a family standpoint, but it's also within the medical field itself.
Yeah, providers themselves.
You would think you would think that they actually, already have well versed in it, but you're saying that it really needs some more education in that space.
You would think, and I know firsthand, like I was a social worker before I was in hospice, and I mean, I didn't even understand it. Being in social work for a number of years, didn't understand it completely what they offer.
Well, look, I think we're going to all need to come together and work together. There's a lot of negative press that is currently out there at this point, and I don't think that this should just be a community issue that you're hearing on TV how many people are contracting or where the death is coming from. Right. I think that we as an industry, if we come together and create the solutions, then we'll make the senior healthcare industry that much stronger as a whole. Yeah. I think that's an important piece. So I think the sooner we can come together and realize this, I think the sooner we can all move forward. This is very informative, and I appreciate you taking some time today. Hopefully, as you know, we continue this dialogue, I think, for weeks to come, because there's value. I think right. that every time you can have a conversation like this, you're bringing value to the conversation and thinking new ideas and new thoughts. And I think you used the word earlier, innovation.
Right.
And I want to throw out the word inspiration, and be inspired and allow yourself to have that opportunity to go forward and move forward. And I think we'll be in a good place. So I thanks for taking a couple minutes with me today, John.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, John. And if I could add one quick thing
sure.
before we wrap it up, I just started, and this is like what I was just talking about, trying to spread awareness on hospice.
Yeah.
So I started a podcast and a Facebook page called the Hospice Experience,
Okay.
and I'm meeting with people virtually from all over the country, talking about how they've had experiences with hospice. I've spoken with people, about family members being on hospice, just because everyone's experience is different. And I thought if we put it out there, people were, willing to share, then other people could listen to it if they're in the same boat, and they would be a little bit less scared because they would understand it a little bit better.
So it's like a support group almost, like, is that how you?
Almost. It's so it's me. It's sort of like the interviews that I've been doing, but I'm meeting
Right.
with family members, and I'm pretty much just listening. They're talking. They're telling me about hospice experience, what led up to it, what was going on with hospice, um, how we're supported, whether it's in the home or in the hospital or in a nursing home, and just so if someone is in a similar situation, they can say, "Oh, this is what I can sort of expect."
Very
It's not
cool.
so unknown. So.
That's very cool. And I think what's also unique about it is that you no longer have these boundaries geographic of 5 counties,
Yep.
like in Philadelphia, right? So
Yeah.
now this is something that actually gets out, out and about throughout the country. And that's very cool. That's great, John. Will you keep us, keep me up to date
I will
and
keep you
how we
posted.
can
Yeah.
help out with that. That's
Yeah, I'll
awesome.
send you a link. Yeah, it's
I,
brand spanking new. So.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with that. I look forward to participating.
Thank you. Thanks, John. And if there's anything that I can do for you, please keep me in mind.
Please. All right. That's great. Thanks, John.
Cool. Thank you, John.